we have received all the data from Varsha to do our analysis.
Yes, JV. So why don't I let's take a look at the data together?
Yeah, let's do that. Yes.
Okay.
Then maybe while you're projecting the data, you can quickly help us recall what is it that we have to do with it.
Sure. So this is the data, and actually it's a very, very large database, JV. So maybe a good idea, we should probably spend some time, just looking at the data before we look at what we want to do with it.
Okay.
Okay. But just to recap, what we said we would do is, if you remember, Ritesh was having problems getting enough applications from different channels.
Right.
And so he wanted to understand which of his channels was the most effective one. Right? Because he wanted to figure out which channel to focus on. So I think the problem before us today is to figure out, of all the channels that Ritesh is working with, which channel is the most attractive one.
So by channel, we mean the sources from where the resume came, right? So
correct.
So come from another employee referral, or somebody has applied against the advertisement in our website directly.
Yes.
Or we have got it via third-party sourcing agency, right?
Yeah. Yes. So LinkedIn is also another big channel. A lot of people seem to be applying through LinkedIn.
Okay. So via LinkedIn.
Yes.
So these are the channels, and when we say which channel is doing well, what is the measure for that? I mean, how do we know whether a channel is doing well or not?
There are so it's a fairly complex score, and there are multiple dimensions. So we will need to do a lot of computation to figure out which channel is the best channel.
All right. So we will discuss, first of all, what are the metrics we will use.
Correct.
To figure out whether a channel is doing well. Then from this data set, this is the data set, right? These are the people who have been sourced from these channels.
This is the data set, and you will see that there are a lot of columns. Right?
Okay, plenty of columns. Oh my God.
Okay. So maybe worthwhile to just first take a look at what is this data.
Okay. All right.
So each row, I looked at the data, GV. It looks like each row is one application.
Okay.
And internally, they seem to be giving the number for each row, and they call it application number A1, A2, A3, so on. And if you go down, you will see that almost 383 applications they have received.
Okay. Oh my God.
And if you remember, they wanted five.
It's totally 12. This is including the project leader, right? So this for those 12 positions. 12 positions.
12 positions.
12 positions. We got 383 applications. Okay.
383 applications they have received. Okay. Now, so what is it that they have? Okay. So they have date on which the application was received, name of the applicant.
It's been removed. I guess the name has been removed.
Because of confidentiality reasons, they have removed that.
Okay.
What is the kind of job that person is currently doing? So the person could be working full-time currently. He or she could be working part-time. Or he could be working external, meaning third-party contractor.
Oh, he might be working with a third-party agency already.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So these are the three sort of kinds of employment types. This channel code is some internal code they have. It seems to encode what is the channel from which channel we discussed, right? So you'll see there's employee referral, direct website, third party, or LinkedIn. Those are the four.
Four types.
But they've encoded it. I think for some MIS reasons, they seem to have stored some code also.
All right. Okay. Useful. I mean, it must be
Yeah.
useful, right? Because somebody may have made some employee referral. You might write us with 1 hour or 2 hours of some mistake may be made there. Whereas the channel code, it's a number. So it's much better to do it. I mean, coding is used, generally coding is used basically to remove all these kind of errors. Right?
Yes.
Entry errors, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Then it says which position have we applied for.
Okay. Which is again code, there is a code, J1001, like that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Then what is the primary skill? I think this we saw even in the first caselet, right? There was.
We saw that, yes, yeah. We've seen this.
Okay.
Comma
Now,
separated.
yes, comma separated.
Yeah.
Now, in addition, they also seem to be looking at some certifications.
Okay. Can I have to go right, Milind? So just go right.
Okay. Yeah. Now can you see?
Yeah. So certification, but we are not using it. I mean, okay, it's there, but okay.
Yeah. No, so actually, they do want to look at some statistics based on certification because the certification seems to be relevant to the kind of job that the person has to do.
Okay.
Okay. Then after that, you have date of birth. And you can see that there is wide variety. So there are some people are born in 1989, some people are born in 1964.
64, my goodness. Huh?
So quite some variety. Then you have gender, nationality, whether the person is physically handicapped, marital status. And it's interesting, they actually collect all this data because I think GV, they are also being measured on some of these, diversity metrics. Is the
male, female, single, married?
Yes. Okay. Then they're looking at how much work experience the person has. Then they look at what is the kind of undergraduate degree that this person has done. Okay. So you can see that there's a lot of data they have about undergraduate degree. So, okay, I was just trying to resize the columns so that we can see everything, but it looks like that there are lots of UG columns. So, first, the person could have done the undergraduate degree either full-time or in a distance mode.
I see, that's also there, okay.
Right? So a little bit like this course, right, which is in distance learning mode. So people could have done it full-time or distance. Then what is the name of the degree? So people could have done a BE, they could have done a BSc, they could have done Bachelor of Engineering, they could have done BCom, multiple, right? Then what is the undergraduate discipline? So this seems to be a fairly broad requirement because I think the certifications are more important than what is the discipline, but they are collecting this data. So you have some people who have done aeronautical, computer science, physics, broad variety. When did the person graduate? Which university, what university rank did the person have? Okay, and you can see that most of the time, I think this is sort of empty. Okay, a few of them seem to have some rank, but otherwise, mostly it's blank.
Okay.
Then you know that different universities give marks differently. Can you see the column U, GV?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just scroll to the right a little bit so that. So different universities give marks in a different format. So some universities give CGPA, some universities give percentile, etc. So this data is also available. Okay. Then what exactly are the marks?
Out of, yeah.
So the person has got a CGPA of 8.23
maximum
out of a maximum of 10.
Okay.
On the other hand, A2 seems to have got 72% marks out of a total of 100.
100. Okay.
Then similar data is also collected about the person's postgraduate education.
Oh, if at all. Okay.
Okay.
This is a lot of data. Huh? Okay.
It's a lot of data, yeah. Okay.
Again,
so this is
thing.
the person.
Okay.
And then finally, there is some data about the recruitment process itself. Okay. So
feedback.
The applicant gives a feedback on how easy was it to apply for this job.
Yeah.
Seems to be ranking it on a scale of 1 to 5.
Okay.
5 is very easy, 1 is very hard. Okay. And then there are 2 columns which are judgments of the recruiter. First is, was the resume shortlisted for interview?
Okay. But we don't know the basis. It says yes, but we don't know what reason they shortlisted. There's no remark column or something. Huh?
That is not recorded. They don't seem to have recorded that. But we know that this person was shortlisted.
Okay.
Okay. And then we have another which says, after the interview, was the person selected?
Okay.
So these decisions are recorded here.
All right. So if you just look at the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like out of 5 people shortlisted, only first person got selected actually. Huh?
Correct.
All right. Okay. So it's a very highly selective process of selections there.
And that is actually, we will now see that is one of the factors that people would consider when they're looking at how effective is a channel.
In terms of how many people that the channel recommended, we finally ended up selecting.
Correct.
Because they may have given us a lot of resumes, but if I selected nothing from those resumes, it's not effective. That's what you're saying.
A bad channel because it has consumed a lot of time.
Because I'm spending a lot of time.
Yes.
Spent a lot of effort and got no result.
Yes.
The effort to result ratio, it should maximize for me.
So what they have said, what they have suggested, I discussed with Varsha, is that what important is not so much the selection decision, but the shortlisting decision.
I see.
So if channel provides 100 profiles and let us say 20 are shortlisted. Shortlisting is good enough. What happens after shortlisting is not a reflection on the channel. Is what Varsha said.
Okay. That is the standard in the industry. Okay.
Yes.
So, all right. So you're saying basically effectiveness of the channel is determined by number shortlisted by number of resumes. Number of resumes that came from the channel is the denominator, and number of those resumes that were shortlisted is the numerator. And that ratio will tell you something about. Is that the only one, or there are other parameters?
No,
this is only one.
There are more. Okay. Yeah. So, but before we go there, so what Varsha says is that many times when you're looking at a large database like this, you want to get some amount of descriptive analysis. Okay. So as an example, you want to know how many men applied, how many women applied. How many people applied with a certain certification. So there is a mix like that, right?
So you want to know whether the channel is, if you have a diversity goal, you want to see whether the channel is helping you with the diversity goal or not.
Correct. Okay. So it, not just diversity, it's also a question of, are you getting enough people with a certain kind of certification, GSEC certification. So these kinds of descriptive statistics need to be worked on. Okay. So I think in today's module, we will just take a look at some 4 or 5 different descriptive statistics.
I guess even the skill basket, right? If you're looking for certain skills, those skills, are they coming from the channel?
Correct. So we will look, basically in this case, what we will do is we will use certification as a proxy for skill.
Skills, okay. You're using certification.
Yes. So if we know that a person has done a certain certification, then we assume that he is expert in security, as an example.
Okay.
So we will look at that. Okay. So shall we, in this module, just look at what is the descriptive statistics, and then in the next module we will look at what is the effectiveness of the channel. Okay.
All right. Okay.
So we now know what is the gender diversity. 276 male out of 100 out of 383 total. Okay. But the other thing that we will also want to know is what kind of certifications have people done. So now in this case, when we were looking at gender, we knew that there were only two genders, male and female. However, in the case of certifications, we don't know how many certifications people have, right? So first we need to find out what kind of certifications are there. How do we find that out? So there's an interesting way to do that, right? So we just select this entire column.
Filtering, right? Filtering, I suppose. Yeah.
No, there's actually a more interesting way. So you just cut the entire column, copy the entire column, and paste it here. Okay. We'll do this.
Okay.
And then if we go to data and we do remove duplicates.
I see.
Then you now know that there were only 3 certifications possible.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now we know what certifications we want to look on, what are the 3 or 4 parameters on which we want to look.
Okay.
Now we can do exactly the same thing that we did for gender. So we can say COUNTIF.
Same range.
Yeah, same range, which was no, not the same range actually. No.
Oh, okay. Now you have to look at I.
So we have to look at I. And 0 means no certification.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay.
People have got no certification.
65 people have no certification. All right.
Correct. And then let's just check them. Let's just do a sum.
383. Very nice.
Correct. Look at all the.
You should always do this. You should check. Isn't
This
it?
is a good idea. Always, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But
so, now, no, go ahead.
No, I was saying basically, therefore, it seems that majority of people have certifications. I mean, I would have thought, initially when I looked at the data, I thought that most people would not have certification, but that's not the case. It looks like everybody has some certificate or other. That's interesting.
Especially, I think, GV in IT industry, people do tend to do something more than just their basic degree.
Especially for jobs like this, security and all.
Correct.
Like, certification involved. Okay. That's a very interesting insight. I would not have thought. Yeah.
Yes. And then, for some reason, Varsha seems to think that a combination of gender and certification is important.
I see. What kind of combination?
So she's given us 4 combinations where she wants to know how many male GSEC certified people have applied. So these are the 4 she has given us. Okay, I'll just type it down. I had written it down when I was talking to her.
Okay. I see. This is curious. How they came up with this. Okay, anyway, they have come up with it.
So these 4 combos they want to know.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
So now how do we do this? Okay, this is now getting more interesting because now we have to filter. See, so far what we were doing is we were filtering just on one criteria in some sense, right? Now,
So that means that you have to check. So basically here we are required to check two conditions.
We have to check two conditions. Yes. So,
And but we are not check. Okay. So the problem is, if you're checking whether one cell is equal to male or GSEC, then you can do with some compound condition.
correct.
But it's not like that.
Correct.
Here.
No. This is not. You can't do X equal to A or X equal to B kind of thing. Because we are looking actually at two different cells.
Two different cells. One cell, one column you're looking for checking whether it's for male, and another column you're looking where you're checking for certification.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So I was trying to figure out how to do this, and it turns out it looks like this is a fairly common requirement. Okay, looking at multiple conditions simultaneously
and counting. Okay.
Fairly common requirement. So Excel actually has a built-in function that will allow us to count based on multiple conditions.
Okay.
Which is called COUNTIFS instead of COUNTIF.
COUNTIFS. Okay.
Actually indicates that there are multiple of those. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is to say we will look at gender, right? So here is the column that we want to look inside. And this column must
that is
match
column K. It was K. You'll have to move to the right because
sorry.
I can't see that column. So you can just scroll to the right.
Yeah. Let me scroll this also to the right. Okay.
So we are doing COUNTIFS.
Now can you see?
Yeah.
So now we will do COUNTIFS.
Then you will select K, column K in the other sheet.
Select column K.
In that sheet, okay.
Comma. Then this, I want to check if column K is equal to male. Right? So I'll select this cell.
Yeah.
Now I want to use the second condition. Now I must specify the second condition. Okay.
So second condition. So continue, comma again. Okay.
Comma.
Again, one more range. Go back to the other sheet and check.
One more range. So column I.
Okay. I.
And it must be equal to
GSEC. Yeah. Click on that. Yeah. Okay.
So that's it. Now, in theory, if we wanted something else, we could have put one more condition.
Okay. Comma. You can go on like that.
Comma. Okay.
Range condition, like that you can do any number. Okay. Nice.
But we have
we have only two, so we can do it. Okay. 92.
Okay. Yeah. Now, if we drag this, we will get something. So we have 92 people, 92 men who have GSEC certification.
Just click on that fourth cell, Milind. I just want to see the formula. Just to go down the next one. That 51. Yeah. So selecting the column, because you selected the column, that K colon K continued as K colon K. If you had selected the range, it would have done some nonsense, right?
Yes.
Because it would have, instead of choosing from 1 to something, it would have done 2 to something, then 3 to something, it would have done.
Yes. So it would have been relative.
It's very important to do that. Okay. I get it. Yeah. That is why when you dragged it, only the K colon K remained as K colon K, but the H2 became H3. I colon I remained I colon I, but I2 became I3.
Correct.
Okay. Nice.
Correct.
This is nice.
But now, if we do the sum, right, you will see that the sum is no longer 383.
Because
we have not considered all possibilities.
All possible cases. Yeah. All conditions and all pairs have not been considered.
All pairs we are not interested in. So there are only 218 out of 383 that are relevant in this case.
Relevant to us. Okay.
So in this kind of a scenario, doing the sum for checking may not give us too much information.
It does, because it tells us that we have got 218 on 383, which is like almost, to that sense, like, it's more than 50% of the candidates we have picked actually. This.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, the next thing that they are interested in is how many applications did they receive for each position? You remember that there are three positions actually that they. So we don't know. Technically, we can say that we don't know how many positions there are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you remember from the case, they had told us that there are three positions. But let's take a look at how do we first of all find out how many positions there are, right?
Same way, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do the same thing. We will do
copy paste this.
Paste this here, and then we will do a deduplicate.
Yeah.
And this will tell us that there are three, and this is now you can remember from the case GV that they were looking at the developers, they were looking at one manager. I think that they had found a manager internally, but looks like they're continuing to look outside also.
Yeah.
And they were looking, so they wanted 10 developers, 2 team leads, and looks like they're looking for one manager also. Even though in first case, we had found one person internally, I think just to be safe, they want another manager.
Yeah, when you're recruiting, you might as well look out. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Makes sense. Because you're spending the effort in recruiting, you might as well, throw in this and get something extra, right?
Exactly.
There's some cost of recruitment anyway, you're going to, so you might as well take advantage of that. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Correct. And now we want to know how many applications we got for developer, how many for team lead, how many for manager.
Okay.
So this, of course, now I think, we should be reasonably expert at doing this, right? How do we do this?
Do we leave it as an assignment?
Shall we leave it as an assignment?
I think so, yeah. Why not? It's the same thing,
Okay.
right? I guess we'll try the same thing, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
In
fact, actually, I'd like to give another assignment here besides this. Let them fill this. But besides this, if you can go back to the beginning of the sheet.
Sure.
The same COUNTIFS method, right? This COUNTIFS, which means two things. You should be able to say how many applications were shortlisted. How many males were shortlisted and how many females were shortlisted.
Okay. So this is what you would like to see, right?
Yeah.
And you want the students to fill this.
They have to fill it so they have to fill that, yeah. So they have to say how many were shortlisted. So which means that they have to look at the shortlisted column in that sheet. So they have to check for shortlisted and male, shortlisted and female, 2 conditions, right? 2 conditions.
Correct.
And then if you know the total number shortlisted, it should match that total number.
Okay. Yes, correct. And actually, Varsha had one more requirement, which also we needed to work on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this also, I will just create a table here, and we will let the students fill it. Because this we will need to report to Varsha back.
Okay. So, what is that channel? Position is that. Okay, that is position.
For each position, how many applications came from which channel?
Okay. So all position channel pairs. That means there are 3 positions and there are 4 channels. So you'll have 12 pairs.
Correct.
3 into 4, 12 pairs you'll have.
Yes. So now let me do the same thing. Just in the interest of time, what I will do is, I think I have the channels listed somewhere. So I'll just, and we want the students to fill in for each of these. How many applications came from which channel? That is the idea.
Again, COUNTIFS they should use, right? In some sense, COUNTIFS they should use.
Correct.
And figure out how many applications we got for J1001 from direct website. How many we got for 101
Correct.
Okay.
So these 12 cells they have to fill up. So I think 3 assignments, right?
3 assignments here. Okay, sure. Yeah.
And I've just marked these in yellow so that the students know which they have to fill up.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just to recap, GV, I think in today's module, basically what we did was we looked at fairly large data sheet, and I think this sort of complicated data tables seem to be fairly common in the organization. No?
Coming, yes.
Yeah.
Multiple criteria will be there, and I think finding a sheet with about 20, 30 columns and 1,000, 2,000 rows is very, very common. Yeah. Most organizations you'll find plenty of such Excel sheets floating around. Yes. Yeah.
And the second thing that we did today was basically we learned how to do COUNTIFS first for simple conditions and then for increasingly complicated conditions.
Yeah.
So in next module, what we will do is we will go back and we will look at what was Ritesh's problem. So this is more, I think, just we learned how to do COUNTIFS today, but next module, we'll look at how to create a dashboard that could help Ritesh understand which channel is effective.
All right, sure.
Okay.